Wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the opening of the gates. In the city she uttereth her words.
Because I have called, and ye refused. I have stretched out my hand, and no man regarded.
A friend of mine was telling me pop culture was social engineering.
Yeah, he said something about MK Ultra mind control in the media.
Don't you know what's going on?
You see this?
You gotta see this.
Check your phone.
Don't you know?
Crazy.
Wow. This is crazy.
You haven't heard?
Bro.
Is this true?
No cap.
You gotta see this.
I don't know what to believe.
Girl, don't you know?
Don't you know what's going on? You haven't heard?
Wake up.
You gotta see this.
You haven't heard?
Man, right after the solar eclipse, and now we're on the edge of World War III. I'm hearing wars and rumors of wars. And all anyone wants to talk about is Kendrick and Drake's beef. But yeah, I watched that show y'all was telling me about, Fallout. Please, tell me y'all saw the programming. The same programming they put in that new Netflix reboot of Good Times, as well as Civil War and Leave the World Behind.
Programming. Here we go again. Jake, I know you love your fashion brands. You should see if Louis V makes hats out of tinfoil.
Funny.
Yeah, I admit, Fallout had some bizarre and disturbing imagery, but I didn't see anything that it had in common with the Good Times reboot or them other movies you're talking about.
Good Times was pure buffoonery and stereotypes. At least Fallout was creative.
Y'all sleeping. For one, the number 33 was everywhere in this show. They're using colors to send a message. Check out the fingernail polished pink and green pastel in the trailer for Civil War. And here again, pink and green pastel in the trailer for Good Times. And the blue and yellow color coding is a signal. Look.
Wow, that is weird.
That doesn't look like a coincidence. They got New California Republic in Fallout, and in Civil War's Republic of California.
You telling me you didn't notice the Tesla references in Fallout having to do with the end of the world? Just like in Leave the World Behind and in Good Times, they not only showed a Tesla, but had Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates in charge of some kind of controlled breeding program for black people.
That's funny. Both Good Times and Fallout had episodes that focused on genetic breeding programs. Also, both had a lot of water and fish references in those episodes.
That's interesting that Jeff Bezos was featured in the Netflix original Good Times when he owns Amazon Prime Originals, which released Fallout. And lots of folks watch these shows on Bill Gates' created operating systems. So if all these elites are working together to brainwash us using shows and movies as some kind of psychological conditioning, what are they conditioning us for?
Yeah, bro. What is the ultimate goal of all this?
Honestly, I'm not really sure where all this is heading. But I know the truth is stranger than fiction. And I got this new app that's supposed to answer deep, forbidden questions the New World Order doesn't want you to know.
I've never heard of that app.
Does it work?
We about to find out. Let's ask Truth Ryder.
Navigating the treacherous corridors between truth and lies. In a shady world of shadow banning and censorship, using their technology against them, he fights the prince of the power of the air. he braves the information highway in a race against time. A race against the signal. His mission, to expose a cabal of illuminists hiding in the dark, hiding in the recesses of the mind. But the shadowy figures in the dark web are relentless.
Hiding in the recess of the mind.
Hiding in my head, in my head, in my bed. Hiding in the corner of my mind, of my mind. Never letting go the things I hide, things I hide.
Truth Ryder, a lone watchman, traverses cyberspace, scouring the metaverse in search of truth, vanquishing propaganda, liberating those who have been bound by deception. He rides.
Shalom, family. Wow, lots of questions. Well, I want to help you connect the dots. I know for those of us with eyes to see, it may feel like the spellcasters are overplaying their hand and really showing their cards. But to the average entertainment-obsessed frog relaxing in the pot, too immersed in distraction to worry about steam and bubbles, everything seems just fine. A perfect example is the fact that the controllers have now diverted everyone's attention to the so-called beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. The official narrative says that Kendrick Lamar put out a diss track, then Drake responded with a diss track. But the fact of the matter is that the multinational corporate suits and ties are the only ones who really put out a diss track. A distraction.
Bars.
They love to profit off of the distraction and destruction of the Israelite youth.
Bars.
I'm telling you, they're harnessing your collective spiritual energy for a giant war invocation.
He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
And that brings us to our main topic. So we're decoding Fallout.
But war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil. Yet were they drawn swords.
The dystopian post-apocalyptic cinematic psyop Amazon Prime deployed in the midst of rising global tensions between the world's nuclear powers. So this is a weapons-grade piece of Hegelian propaganda the controllers have rolled out to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You see, the sci-fi stories that entertained us just a few decades ago have become the dystopian reality that invades every aspect of our lives today, and that's by design. Let's examine episode 6 of Fallout, titled The Trap. We're gonna compare and contrast its signs and symbols with those featured in other recent Hollywood releases.
Episode 6, The Trap, starts with the character, Cooper Howard, filming an infomercial-like ad for residential underground nuclear fallout shelters. This vast network of doomsday bunkers is called the Vault, and this specific shelter is called Vault 4. Notice the sign that reads, Test Subjects. As Cooper Howard tours the vault making his sales pitch, he refers to this corridor as Sycamore Street. Notice both addresses start with the number 42.
As Mr. Howard enters into Unit 429, walking across the black and white checkered floor, he introduces a family by saying, quote,
Meet the Hawthorns.
Meet the Hawthorns.
Now, this isn't just your average all-American family.
Now, this isn't just your average all-American family, end quote. Pattern recognition. We have numerous examples of spellcasters tying the number 42 to the so-called African American community.
In many occult traditions, the number 42 is associated with the ancient Egyptian and Greek gods Thoth Hermes. The show's producers further solidify this connection by showcasing Hermes Caduceus on an organ harvesting robot.
Did you say Thoth?
Yes, you know the entity Cat Williams was talking about on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Even Tesla says that this is where he came to get the information. But if you follow that information pathway, it leads you to this character called Thoth.
The Egyptian god Thoth. Okay, it says beginning in the 2nd century BC onwards, Greek texts attributed to Hermes, a syncretic combination of Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth, appeared in Greco-Roman Egypt. Those texts known as the Hermetica.
Any genetic hybridization program would be considered a form of biological alchemy, and we know Hermes presides over their alchemical tradition. One of the show's central characters is a so-called black man named Maximus. Here, he's shown in Vault 4, the same vault which housed the Hawthorne family earlier in this episode, which just so happens to be the vault designated for inhumane scientific experiments.
Remember, they have to tell you, so this kind of soft disclosure is meant to elicit passive consent. In reality, the US government and its corporate cronies have been locking vulnerable populations in projects, prisons, barrios, reservations, and ghettos, and performing secret science experiments on their unsuspecting inhabitants for decades.
Pruitt-Igoe, the Holmesburg prison experiments, and the Tuskegee experiments are just a few examples, so that's why the spellcasters appropriately titled this episode, The Trap.
But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth. For a spoil, and none saith, restore.
Nowadays, to quote the pro-New World Order futurist Noah Harari, the new frontier of experimentation is genetic.
As in the days of Noah. In the show, Vault 4's human hybrid breeding program centers around splicing humans with fish and other aquatic creatures. Here we see a resident of Vault 4 with bioluminescent eyes and what appears to be tentacles on her face.
This imagery is alerting us to the fact that there are Marine Kingdom spirits and spells at play here. In this scene, they made a point to subtly incorporate fish in the design of the wallpaper, while Maximus, an Israelite, is eating caviar and watching an on-screen waterfall.
Toward the end of the episode, the main character Lucy discovers a laboratory where she watches a video of an experiment where a pregnant woman submerged in water gives birth to humanoid fish-like creatures, which then turn on the woman and consume her.
Now let's quickly juxtapose this episode of Fallout with a Good Times reboot, episode 4, titled They Came Before Elam. Let's start with a question. What are the primary colors in this promotional poster art?
I would say blue and yellow.
Whoa.
Exactly.
They're supposed to be in the projects, Get it? Science projects, and they got them floating on water. That's gotta mean something.
This version was tailor-made to disparage your generation. The show starts with the father almost drowning in their flooded apartment.
In this scene, the mother says, and I quote, "We're in here living like mermaids."
We're in here living like mermaids.
Then in this same episode, the son paints a mural for Elon Musk he titles The Naked Jellyfish. Eventually, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates admit they are conducting genetic experiments, breeding specific genes found in black people.
Crazy. That's exactly what you were saying.
My grandma watches reruns of the old school show of Good Times.
The old version was way more positive.
Themes of transhumanism, human-animal hybrids, specifically chimeric fish, are being woven into many storylines and plots aimed at the so-called African-American community all of a sudden.
Hopefully this helps you discern the truth behind the veil. Remember to guard your eye gate. The spellcasters are scouring the people's subconscious psyche, subliminally pushing the masses toward collective consent in order to obtain legal jurisdiction to defile your soul. It's important to take a look in the rear view. Search out the old paths. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee, thy elders, and they will tell thee.